Ever since the Avatar movies came out, I was hoping James Cameron would make a second movie because it's really everything I wanted in the cinema for the past few years. Everything was either a prequel, a sequel, or a remake, which gets very stale. Also because it just shows how lazy the Hollywood has become with showing us innovation or new movies, new stories, new ideas. Avatar, however, is, even if it's a sequel, a better continuation than anything in the past years. Maybe because it's new and shiny, but it's still better than the 30th superhero flick with this year's forgettable villain. One of the best things about the movie is the alien design and Pandora as a whole. Creature design-wise, it's so good. It's believably alien, but since it wants to be understood in a human-like way, it also has lots of earthly analogues for the world. The real alienness of Pandora really only starts with the animal world, since the Navi are kept more in a humanoid form to make them more palatable to our monkey brain conception of beauty, which I must admit worked really well, cause I did dream of Navi women and I still chase this dream. The things that I love about Pandora is basically everything. Every establishing shot of the movie is amazing. The scenes where they fly out over the waterfalls and they see Dariti when Jake wanders around and meets the Anksik, the Palulukan chase. The way the night lights up, the different sacred willow trees, it's also pretty. I loved going through the concept art book. The willow trees especially, they signify Awa's physical representation in the world. They are so ethereal and fantastic, it's great. I also think it's funny how the movie is basically a 1-hour action movie which is interspliced with a 1.5-hour world building and exo-ecological showcase of an alien world. It's just great. I can't pick any scene of the movie which would be my favorite cause I love all of it. It's one of the best CGI spectacles, which is understandable with the amount of technology that went into it. I mean, it's also great that James Cameron had the idea apparently since 1994, but said to himself, oh shit, this stuff's too fire, we can't film it with today's technology. In the second movie, I really like the Metkayina. They are developed so great, with them being physically different from the Matakaya, due to them being from the sea and having adapted to it, with their wider arms and fin-like tails compared to the Matakaya, which are obviously more built for the forests. The whole eastern archipelago looks so cool, with the gigantic mangrove-like trees whose roots the Metkayina use to set up the villages, which are directly at the shallow sea. It's so cool. The story is obviously a bit weak, with the basic humans turns on humans to save native inhabitants, but it was a conscious choice from the filmmakers, since they wanted the movie to be more understandable and not a dense philosophical metaphor, which normally would happen for a movie like that. I really like the way the movie set up Awa, because in the first movie she was referred to as both a great all-encompassing thing and an individual, which pointed to an individual super consciousness in the end, when Grace died and said to Jake that she saw her, which then also implies she has more agency, with the final fight as the animals attack the RDA forces who are about to bomb the Tree of Souls, for example. This also gives another theory about the first movie more relevance, which I think is pretty cool, about how Jake, when he is connected to Awa in the beginning, got brainwashed by the planet to protect it against the humans, because how would a human mind, not accustomed to an experience like that, defend from the greater will of an entire super consciousness the size of a planet? Which also brings a sort of elder god vibe to it, like Pandora would be a kind of hippie Brethren moon, who concentrates on protecting itself and its inhabitants. With the second movie, I really like that they set up humanity as a bigger threat than a one-off poking the bee's nest and seeing how much honey they can get out. As we find out how General Atmos says that Earth is dying and they only are really here to clear the way. But my favorite implication in the movie is about Kiri, which I really like her character, mainly because she's played by Sigourney Weaver, and I really like Sigourney Weaver. But also she is a crucial character for the future of the story. With her being conceived from an immaculate conception after the war against the RDA and no one knowing who her father was, she has a very strong connection to the world as a whole and to Awa, seen in the beginning when she's sleeping in the forest and the nature around her is mimicking her heartbeat. Also, when the wood sprites land on her, which in the first movie was a sign of Awa, which means she's gonna play a bigger role in the future. Which kind of implies her being basically a blue Jesus, which I think is kind of funny. The end of the second movie also nicely sets up Quaritch as a villain with more depth, rather than in the first movie, where he really just wants to kill Jake for fucking him over. I like that Quaritch obviously has more feelings for his son, even when his conception was from a power imbalance of a commanding officer to his subordinate, which shows that Quaritch isn't a totally evil dude who wants to kill everyone, but that there is more space for his character to grow. I'm probably going out on a limb here and theorize that Quaritch might turn native, since the recombinants are already in Avatar bodies and this really separates them from humans already. There's something in him, it's him wanting to be close to his son, which will probably lead to a choice to be made since Spider is part of the Sully family, even with him being human, but also Spider is in conflict since Neytiri is giving him a cold shoulder, and that could alienate him and drive him more to the RDA. Which, now thinking about it, this might be actually possible that the roles are reversed, that Quaritch joins the Na'vi and Spider joins the RDA, which that's with some kind of drama, holy shit. And now to my personal crackpot theory, which is literally only based what we can see in the movies and is never explained at all. The willow trees always standing in these recessed places, which don't look fully natural. Of course this could be due to the unobtainium. I mean, they literally have floating mountains. My theory is that way back in the history of the Na'vi, they were once like us, almost destroyed their planet, then they researched for solutions, which then spawned Eywa and her neural network. She restored the planet to a more natural state, and they de-evolved their civilization, with Eywa guiding them into a more balanced way of life with the nature. And the places where the willow trees are just the remnants of buildings where they were planted. Anyways, time to praise the military-industrial complex of a sci-fi company that kills natives. I like that the movies are as scientifically accurate as they can be, with the technology, for example, of the ISV Venture Star being built the way that the crew won't get cooked because the engines are further away, and that the ship doesn't have a magical hyperdrive, but it works with long-time engine burns to get up to speed. And it's also cool that they put in the time dilation into consideration, where the subjective timer for the travelers is 6 years, while the observed time from Earth is 7 years. The AM suit is so cool too. It looks very believable and like something they would build specifically for the Pandora expedition. But apparently it was used on Earth too, showing that we like to kill each other with mechs in the future of Avatar too. It's also cool how the RDA learned from the first time on Pandora and developed the Skell suit, which is a stripped down version of the AM suit, but it is more of a multi-purpose platform than the AM suit, which was more of a fighting platform. The RDA's flying machines look cool too, but this is the one point of the movie that leans more into the rule of cool than being scientifically accurate. For example, the Dragon Assault ship looking too bulky to be actually feasible to fly, even in Pandora's thicker atmosphere. It looks cool for the military sci-fi setting, such as Avatar, but I don't think it would be able to fly. The Samson and the Scorpion, however, they look more like a kind of sci-fi helicopter that is more realistic. The Valkyrie, however, looks like a more advanced space shuttle, which I think is just cool. In Avatar The Way of Water, the coolest design, I think, from the RDA is the Sea Dragon, the whaling ship. The maglev train was cool too, but I think the whaling ship is so much better. With all the thought that went into it, the way they have the Sea Wolves set up the tag on the Tulkun, which was selected for the hunt, how the Matador patrol boat was used to separate the target from the group, using the harpoon gun to tire out the target, and how the Mako submarines go in for the kill with them, then forcing the Tulkun to surface with the float bags, in the end using the crab suit to reel in the kill. It is also kind of fucked up how the RDA is using the Tulkun really only to extract the Marita from their brain and not using anything else from the kill. But what makes the thing worse is that the Tulkun are actually sentient beings. Bridgehead as the new base of operations looks awesome, with the perimeter carved out around it, like a sore wound in the flesh. It's obvious that the base wasn't planned like Hell's Gate was. The difference being that Hell's Gate was more like an outpost in an untamed wild, with a bit of human civilization ending just outside the gates. Bridgehead, however, with being the second colonization attempt from humans, it is now set up with more intent, the base itself being bigger than Hell's Gate ever was. In the movie, General Ardmore says how Earth is dying and they are just here to prepare Pandora for terraforming, which is supported with the way they have set up the base, as it's a junction for a colonization effort of a suitably advanced species. It has access to the sea, it has access to a river, and it has land access with the newly established rail lines. All of this points to more and more humans coming from the dying planet. One thing I really like about the Avatar program, or the Ambassador program, is the attention to detail for the avatars themselves. Since there is a fundamental ways where the Na'vi and the avatars differ, which are that the avatars have the human trait of 5 fingers and on the extremities, and that they have eyebrows, compared to the Na'vi which don't have these traits. I think this was done on purpose from the storytelling and from the universe lore, because it's either that the avatars have these traits due to them being a mix of human and Na'vi DNA, or it's because the RDA made the avatar bodies this way on purpose, because they wouldn't know how the human body mind map would react to suddenly having one less finger on their extremities. It is known that people who lose their little toes have a harder time staying balanced. Also, amputated limbs can lead to phantom pain, as the mental body-mind map still thinks there's a limp, but there isn't, leading to an error in the nerves, which leads to pain.
Your missing arm? 5 different kinds of painkiller in your medicine cabinet? That's what this magic box of neurological trickery is for. This would be a lot easier if you do what the crazy guy who tied you up says. Put your hand in there. Put your hand in there. Now look. Mirror magic. Your arm is back. Now clench both your fists at the same time. Clench. Real hard. If you believe in God, pray that this is gonna work. You might also want to ask him why you blew off your arm. Ready? Now let go.
Oh my God. Relaxed. For 36 years I've been in pain, and it's finally gone. Oh my God.
Anyways, I think these movies are great. I will definitely go into the cinema for the next one. Bye!